I had a number of meetings today and I met a lot of good people.
That's good. That's always energizing.
Yes. And today we'll discuss about when to file a patent.
Okay, so when to file a patent?
Yeah. You'll start with the
I'm
pick,
asking
Rama.
you. No, I'm asking you when to.
Okay, so I think this is an interesting topic, and the reason for choosing this topic is people are like, should we wait for some time? Should we file it in the first go? Like, what is the exact point where we should think about patenting? And I always say that when your technology or your idea is developed to a certain extent that you are able to analyze it to be patentable, that is the correct time to file a patent.
Yeah.
So, my opening remark would be this.
Okay. Yeah, I think you have captured the essence of when to file a patent. If I have a mere idea, so I often have people who just have a concept of something, say a bicycle which works in a particular fashion, and then they say that we want to patent this. So, what is the problem in that, you think? As soon as the idea comes into their mind and they're worried that someone is going to steal it and they should patent it and then start, and then someone else will work on it. So,
Correct.
do you think that's a feasible model to work on?
See, what I think is in the patent application, it is very much important for us to disclose how that idea comes into reality or how that idea works. If we are clear about the how part of the invention, like how our invention is working, then I think it could be a right stage. But when it is a mere idea and we don't even know how that thing will, come into picture, come into reality, how that thing will work, we do not have a clear picture in mind, it's very difficult to get a patent because in the disclosure we need to mention about how part of the invention too.
Absolutely. So, if I'm going to be varying some factors, let's say the temperature, the pH, or
Hmm.
in the case of a bicycle, I don't know the length of the frame, I don't know the
Correct.
height from the flow, I don't know whether the seat is adjustable. So if we just
Yeah.
based on some concept, I don't even know if it's going to work. So in
Correct.
and it makes sense to first build a prototype in that case, figure out what is the range, and you don't want to be restricted by having just every feature locked in at one value, right? You don't want
Correct.
the height to be restricted at 70. You want there to be a range. You want the
Yes.
seats to be at a range. So it always helps if you have done at least one in such cases where you have something that can be varied. Then it makes
Correct.
sense to have a prototype.
Correct. So we have a question from Anjan. He says, is it mandatory to have a working prototype at the time of filing of a patent if the invention is a hardware? Would you like to answer?
Yeah, sure. So it is not mandatory to have a working prototype at the time of filing for any invention.
Correct.
Absolutely not. And I think if you want to go in, if you are somewhere halfway through with building your prototype and you want to file a provisional, that's okay. Because
Yeah.
in the provisional, it's just a skeleton. You don't have to divulge everything. You can then finish up your prototype within the next 12 months and then file your complete. But if you're nowhere
Correct.
close to even beginning your prototype and you want to file complete, then that would be a mistake because then you would be leaving out a lot of features which could come in at a later stage, which would benefit your chances of getting a patent.
Correct. I think it's absolutely necessary, Anjan, that you know how your product is going to work. Or if someone wants, like if you have a clear picture in mind and you give that clear picture to someone in the same industry, he's able to comprehend what you are saying. So if you have exactly clear picture about what your invention is, how your invention is going to work, and what would be the outcome of your invention, then you're good to go even if the prototype is not ready. But it is always advantageous that you have started working on the prototype to have this clear picture. Patent office is not going to ask you for the prototype. It is not an official requirement to have a prototype, but to disclose the invention, I think there should be some research and analysis involved where you exactly know how your invention is going to work.
Absolutely. I think you hit it. You hit the nail on the head. There is otherwise there would be we would not be discussing this. Otherwise, we would just say that there is a patent office requirement that you need to have a working prototype. I know someone who said they filed a patent for a windmill with a little paper model sitting on their desk.
Wow.
And I don't think he got it. But we were also filing for a vertical access windmill, and we waited till we got a full working. We got the windmill fitted, and then we filed for a patent, and we got it. But the other person with the little paper windmill on his table didn't get. So and at the time of hearing, of course, if the examiner doesn't understand, then he does want to see a prototype if possible.
Yeah.
So we had
uh,
shown video because we couldn't show the entire equipment. We showed him a video and he was happy with that.
and I think patent office is always happy with the video. Like if we show them how our invention is exactly working, then they are
Yes.
always happy because they are able to understand the invention very well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Shalini, here, because the topic is when to file a patent, I think it is very appropriate to discuss first to invent and first to file system.
Okay.
Because a lot of time people come and say, okay, there is some disparity between the laws because US was also working on first to invent and then moved to first to file. All over the place in many now in most countries we have first to file system. So how do we take care of that?
So always, so think of it as a queue. Then the person who reaches the beginning of the queue first is the owner, is
Yeah.
the inventor and the applicant. Or, I mean, of course, there could be someone else who is the applicant, but the person who reaches the start line, reaches the top, beginning of the line first is the person who gets it. And
Correct.
now,
I
because it
think it.
is online filing, even I mean, they can even keep track of the time in seconds, which
Yeah.
helps, especially in a fast evolving technology where multiple players are all industry players are all working on the same concept. Then in that case, first to file becomes very, very important.
Yeah, and I think in most countries it is the first to file system, not a first to invent system. So you need to take care, like to all the audience who is listening to this, it is very, very important that you take care of the fact that you are filing your patent application first without disclosing it to anyone else so that you are able to secure your rights. So
Yeah,
first entry is absolutely important, and we cannot, just do away with that.
yeah, correct. And if there is an issue, do you think such an issue can be resolved, or does it go to court, or is it just thrown out of the window because the act says it's first to file?
See, it's a first to file system. Then we have things like pre-grant oppositions, post-grant oppositions, revocations, things like that, where we need to show that our invention was novel. So there are always chances that we take a longer recourse, but then that is very, very difficult. And you also know how much time and money and efforts would be involved if in case it goes there. So I
Absolutely.
think to secure your rights in the first place, it's absolutely important that you file it in the first place and be happy.
Yeah, yeah. Try to get there to the top of the line before anyone else
Correct.
does.
It's just that things will become very difficult if we do not do that.
Yeah, and I think we have to be very, very careful about whom we disclose our invention to.
Yeah.
So you invite someone to your lab and you start discussing what you're doing. what is stopping the other person from taking that and working on it themselves. Maybe they are also working on a similar thing, but they haven't reached where you are. And by
True.
discussing your invention, you have helped them get to where you are. And then it's just
Yeah.
a hop, skip, and jump to get to finishing that invention, getting it done, and filing for it. Also, I think if you are still in that, should I file or should I not file, and you're wondering and you are sharing resources, then or should we do that in another post, another episode? I think otherwise it becomes too much. But uh, sharing resources and so on, then in that case, again, I think first to file will kick in. So make sure you get there
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. I think we'll keep this session very, very short. And when to file a patent as soon as you think your invention is developed to the certain extent that you can prove that you can satisfy the patentability criteria, just go ahead and file the invention. Shalini, your last view on this answer.
I think Prigya has covered it very well. I think that if you go, it's like Goldilocks and the three bears. There
Yeah.
is a point where the porridge is too hot. There is one point where the porridge is too sweet, and there is one point where it is just right, and that's the point you have to file your patent.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions around it, feel free to message me or Shalini will be able to help you. Thank you, Shalini, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for joining in this quick session.
Thank,
And we'll see you next Tuesday.
thank you, Rajan, for joining in. Thank you, Prigya. See you Tuesday.